Well, before I even get into the safety topic, I was gonna, we're gonna talk about this meeting and why we're having this meeting. But as you can see, we have, besides yourself, only 2 people here. I did text everyone and said it was a mandatory meeting through the system yesterday, just to make sure, in addition to saying it on the last couple of videos that they're supposed to be watching. So there really shouldn't be any reason why, you know, because no one's called me and said, other than Edwin is sick, but everyone else should have been here. And they're not. But the reason that we are having this meeting, for the 2 of you that are here at least, and then I guess I'll have to have one-on-ones with everybody else now, is because of the fact that, you know, we wanted to talk about the meetings in general. Why do we have meetings, and why we would like you guys to be here. The videos that we're doing were put in place for that anomaly, not for the everyday type of thing. So in other words, if maybe you were sick and you missed a meeting, or you had to go to a job right away, you know, first thing this morning, which could happen more often this summer as we get busy, then there'd be a reason for, you know, you to be watching the video. So the goal for the meeting is for everyone to get together, for there to be some collaboration on things and to talk about it, so we can, you know, improve the organization, the teamwork, and everything else. You know, I do take time to try to come up with something to talk about each and every week. That's one part of it, and it's pretty disheartening when I come in to do a meeting and there's nobody here, you know. So we'd like to have these meetings, you know, to kind of switch things up a little bit. So I've been trying to come up with different things to incentivize people to come, and or on the other side of it, you know, maybe have a penalty for not showing up to a meeting if it's not an excused type of situation. So an excused obviously would be, we have a job and it's starting at 7 o'clock or 7:30, you're going straight to the job, you're sick, you know, that type of thing. That would be more excused, but there's really no excuse for most people not to be here on time for a meeting. Number one, you come in, you can see you have a nice clean uniform on, you're ready to go to work. We can send you out from here after we talk about whatever we need to talk about. You know, like a lot of times certain people, it affects certain people more than others, but you know, we'll be talking about air conditioning, and it's going to only affect the air conditioning people, and vice versa, but we kind of help each other here in the team, so it can go back and forth. So we really just want everyone to try to be here as often as they can, and we understand there's going to be some anomalies. That's what the videos are there for you still, so you can have that communication, you know what's going on. So I'll kind of just throw that out to start with. Did you want to add anything to that, Kevin, before I kind of give you some of the ideas that I had?
No, go for it.
Okay. Well, so, you know, for an incentive, the ideas that I had, and I wanted this to be more of a collaborative thing for you guys, because I've done things in the past, and it wasn't specifically for just showing up to meetings and being on time. It was more for other incentives, but we can do something where, for an example, each time you come to a meeting, we basically put your name in a, you know, your name gets put in a piece of paper, folded up, put in a container, okay? And so that gives you 3 chances a week. If you were to come to every meeting in the week, that's 3 chances for the draw. Kind of like having a raffle ticket, right? The more you come, the more raffle tickets you get, and then at the end of a month, then we do a drawing, and there's a prize, some type of, you know, cool tool or something like that. It could be a gift card, whatever the case is. It could be something to incentivize you to, you know, be here and be part of the team. You know, we really shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to incentivize anyone to be part of the team. I mean, you guys are all here. You want to work. You want to be here. Hopefully, you want to make money. And that's what we're trying to, we need to kind of have that type of atmosphere is what we're trying to build. And it's a lot harder when everyone's just doing their own thing, coming when they want to come, going, you know, and I don't see anybody, I don't hear anybody. And then, you know, well, am I watching the video? Well, maybe I'm watching the video, but I'm not really part of the team. It doesn't feel like there's any camaraderie there when that doesn't happen. So, you know, and it's not fair to the people who do come every day, and then they start feeling less and less wanting to come, and then pretty soon there's no one here. We don't have anybody showing up to meetings. So, you know, the goal is to do something like that. We could do something, and I'm saying collaborative, so you guys can give me ideas as well. You know, I can do things where there's an additional, if you come to every meeting for, you know, the month, then there's some type of spiff there when it comes to like on your pay. I can do an additional thing there. But if I do that, then there's got to be the opposite. So if you don't come to meetings, what do? Do I take a percentage away, or, you know, what is it? I don't want it to have to be some type of iron fist. This is how you have to do it. I want you guys to be here so you can be involved and with your peers and everything else, and we can talk about things together, make things better for us as we continue to try to grow and do these things. But what do you guys have? What kind of thoughts do you have? Anybody? What do you hate about the meetings? What do you like about the meetings? I mean, nothing? You're just here because I told you to come? Okay. So
there's actually a few things I do like about the meetings. There's a few things that I find kind of personally frustrating, just because I'm not really sure how to get my head around it.
mm-hmm.
One of them is actually Service Titan. When you're logging into Service Titan, you're showing us how to use it and how to how to react when we are using it. You're logging into a facet of it that we can't ever see. I can't access that. I can never see that. So I'll look at it and go, okay, well, this isn't something that necessarily applies to me because I can't do that. Mm-hmm. Even buttons that you're pressing, I'm not really even sure how to see those. I don't think I can because I have a different access point than you do.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing that frustrates me at all about the meetings. Other than that, they're kind of just, from what I can tell, general updates and things to think about and things to talk about.
Right. Yeah. The only problem that I have with being able for everyone to see something like that, if I could go in, I can go into your guys' mode.
You log into my account if you want.
Well, but I mean, I have to be able to show it on the TV. I don't have it. The only connection I have goes to my laptop. I don't have a connection that goes to an iPad or anything like that. Well, that's the difference.
iPads don't have a connection, but what we could do is get an Apple TV. I think that would work. I believe. I'm not a techie guy. Does anybody in here know anything?
Yeah, you're just maybe getting an Apple TV or like an Apple TV connection to do like the mirror image.
Can you should be a mirror image from a phone?
I don't know. Well, I know you can with like Chromecast if you have Droids. I know something like that. You can mirror image also. I'm pretty sure. But I've never done it before, so I wouldn't know fully.
I've done it with a computer, but I haven't done it specifically via cell phone.
Okay, well I think that's a.
They sell them at Walmart. They have the connections. They have the wires that go into an iPad that like you can buy just the wire, or you can get the Chromecast or you know, the Apple TV.
Cool. Well, we'll find. I think it's a good suggestion, and we'll find a way to do that because I have to tell you, I have both. Mm-hmm. So it's really. It's helpful to me, but I think out in the field, I think I know Service Titan from an administrative point better than I do from a technician point, just because I actually interface with it more as an admin guy. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot in there. We should be able to practice.
Well, have you guys been on? And Ryan, I'm just going to ask you just because I don't know the answer, but have you been on, even on the computer?
I have not logged in via my computer.
Okay, so if you were to go onto a computer, if any of you guys go on a computer, the best way to understand Service Titan, honestly, the best way is you just simply go on a computer and then go up here to the little right where your the person is, and then you go to Academy.
Oh yeah, I've gone through that.
Have you gone through that?
Yeah, a few times.
Okay, so there's so many things on that, on the academy that you can go to, then you basically can go
I
into.
did it with my iPad though. I still never seen even this view that you're looking at
I
now.
would say this view looks a little different.
This
from
is-
mine.
this
Yeah,
is-
this is a little bit different
I've
right
never
here.
seen this before. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think,
That's I'm like.
I think it's important that we,
Oh.
yeah. I think it's important that we get that, and, so that we can.
All of this is.
And then some of us here, I think, are really good at, I know Sarah's one of those people that she's really good at putting together presentations quickly. Because I know she has copied like tasks that she has her own special verbiage for, so she doesn't have to retype them and rethink about all the details and everything else. So it would be a good example for her to show us how she puts together proposals.
Right.
etc. But yeah, we'll go ahead. I think that's a great suggestion. We'll figure out how to do that today, and whatever it takes, we'll get that going. So, anybody else have any suggestions for the meetings? Anything you like or dislike?
Maybe do some more hands-on training on the HVAC side.
Mm-hmm.
Just short little courses on like electrical troubleshooting. I know quite a few of the guys, electrical is kind of a mystery to them.
Mm-hmm.
So giving them some basic troubleshooting procedures when you go on a non-op, follow this tree, and then when you get here, that's when you call someone. You've gone through what's the voltage, what's this, what's this, what's this. Okay, I can't figure out what's wrong. Because then when you call one of the leads, Renars, Kevin, myself, we have everything we need at that point to point you in a direction. Or go, ooh, yeah, we need to come out there.
Yeah, I think there's a need for sales training. On that note, this is more of a team purpose. These meetings are more team oriented, and sometimes, like Alan was saying, we spill over into more of a plumbing issue or more of a HVAC issue, but we really want to keep it more of a team issue on these meetings, and what we're trying to do is trying to get some company cohesiveness. So, we have a plan, but it's very, very difficult to implement the plan if not everybody's on board. As an example, we, on the HVAC side, we've been executing the flips very well, as evidenced by, the sales. We've got over 120K in work that needs to be done now. Mm-hmm. And you guys are booked up for like almost 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And holy shit, here comes the summer. But that's because we're executing the plan on that side of the company. On the plumbing side, we don't have that cohesiveness yet. And it still needs to be improved on the HVAC side. And we got new people, etc. But once we establish that, hey, this works throughout the entire company, and that's what these meetings are for, is that, the difference between a good football team and a sucky football team is cohesiveness on the team. It's, when you get people trying to do their own thing, that destroys the rest of the team, and it's self-centered. But when everybody's working for a team effort, that's when things come together in a big way. And everybody benefits, So we got to get out of that self-centered mindset, and we got to move into that team-centered mindset, and that is what's going to change everything here. We're starting to get team effort going in on the admin side of things in the office, which is very critical to you guys getting calls all the time. So, and we've made some significant improvements over the last week alone, just for data mining that we're all doing now. And I'm finding, gosh, air scrubbers, water heaters, water heaters we've never flushed. I found 2 or 3 of those this weekend. I found 2 or 3 air scrubbers. It on and on and on it goes. And we have all these clients waiting for us to call them, and we're not doing anything to get them. Yet, for the last 3 weeks, we've been sitting on our hands, But we have this massive client base. Well, we're fixing that. But there's a lot of people that don't even know we're doing that, you know, because they're not here. And the, you know, to Alan's point, this was supposed to be, you know, this video is supposed to be for those of you who can't make it for whatever reason. Not an excuse not to come, you know, because it defeats the whole purpose. The other day it was just me and Alan sitting here. I'm like, this is ridiculous, you know, and a new guy. And it's like, what the hell, you know? And how does that make the new guy feel, you know? Like, this isn't important. You see what I mean? So that's why, you know, there are no successful companies that don't have that kind of team cohesiveness. And if we're all just out there for ourselves, this will never, ever work, ever, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing signs of life. I'm really hopeful, but this is something we have to fix. I want to use the carrot approach, but damn it, I will get the stick out if I have to. I mean, and I will beat you silly with it. It's just the way it's going to be. But I don't want to go there, but if I have to, I will. And that's basically what this is about. So, yeah, so the things, back to the point about the training, yeah, I probably, those are, you know, I don't want to be meeting to death either. You know, you get too much of that. Now, the training, I agree, you know, that's something that we could hold. I don't have any problem doing that in evenings, although evenings are kind of hard to do. Or I could do it on, I can't do it Thursdays, I could do it Tuesdays, and just call it Techie Tuesday, and just do a training then. Because that's pretty much the only day I have, or morning I have available. And really, our business is such that it doesn't lend to having classes at night. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It's very, very difficult to get back on time because there's always something going on. And yeah.
Every time I tell my girl I'll be home for dinner, sure enough, there's that non-up.
And then on the technical side, we'll just commit to that. I'll commit to that right now that I'll start doing Techie Tuesday, and that's a meeting that you don't have to attend, but I have to tell you, for those of you, especially the new people who do attend, you'll be able to ask questions in real time, and that's where, you know, you're really going to learn. Because if you're sitting there watching it, and you have a question, you're just going to be lost the rest of the meeting, you know, and so that's kind of important that you're there. So. In fact, we'll just go ahead and schedule one for tomorrow. I'll let you know that, you know, 7:30, be here, and we'll go over something technical. Okay?
All right, so I think so that since no one really had any ideas of what we're going to do, I'm going to start, before we bring out the stick and do something negative, I want to try to make it positive. So I'm going to do the name in the hat for everyone who shows up. Your name goes in the hat. So basically, you have 3 choices, or 3 chances per week, or 3 names can go into the hat for the week. And then we'll do that at the end of the month, however many you have. We're going to pull one in front of everybody in the meeting. And then we'll have some type of prize, some type of tool. I'll talk to Kevin about that, what we're going to do. Maybe it'll be a gift card or something, but something that'll something that'll be good for you. So
it's all of our stomping grounds.
Yeah. So that's what we'll do for that. So I don't want to make the meeting too long. The whole goal about these is going to be in and out within half an hour. So if we start on time, we can end on time, 7:30 to 8 o'clock. That's the goal. Okay, so today we're just going to have a quick safety meeting. I want to talk more about this meeting in general, the whole meeting thing. And I like how Kevin said it regarding the teamwork. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, we can all be training ourselves and doing our own thing, but we're not going to really be cohesive if we don't. So please try to make the meetings as often as you can. We want to make it so that we're all working together and all on the same page every day. Okay? I think we'll be a lot more successful this summer if we do. So for the safety meeting, I have the sheet. If you haven't signed it, please get it signed down there. I'm talking about what is a confined space. I mean, everyone hopefully should know that. Some of the newer people may not, but I want to just kind of bring that in there and talk about it. So confined space does not necessarily just mean a small enclosed space. It could be rather a large space, such as a ship's hold, a fuel tank, or a pit. So for us, give me an idea of a confined space. One example. What's that?
Crawl space under a house.
Crawl space under a house, okay.
Closet.
closet, where else? How about under, in a manhole,
Yeah.
sewer, right? There's a ton of places that are a confined space. So one of the first defining features of a confined space is that it's large enough to allow one of us to get in and do some work. The second defining feature is it has limited means of entry or exit. So normally it's one way in, one way out, right? Okay. And then entry may be obtained through a small or large opening, but usually there's only one way in and one way out. The third defining feature is that confined spaces are not used for continuous or routine work. So you don't always go into a crawl space unless you have to fix something, but it's not there for every day in and out. All confined spaces are categorized into two main groups, non-permit and permit required. Permit required confined spaces must have signs posted outside stating that the entry requires a permit. In general, these kind of spaces contain serious health and safety threats, including oxygen deficient atmospheres. So down in a manhole, a lot of times, what do you have down in a manhole?
Fumes, chemicals and stuff.
Methane gas, right? There's gases down there that are harmful, something like that. So normally, if you're going to go into a confined space where there's oxygen deficiencies, flammable atmosphere, toxic atmospheres, mechanical or physical hazards, loose materials that can engulf or smother. Okay, so what else? How about a trench? Is a trench considered a confined space? If you're digging a trench.
Size, yeah.
Okay, so what's the
attic.
the size?
An attic would be a confined
Yes,
space.
an attic would be a confined space. What's the size of a trench that would be considered a confined space?
6 feet,
5 feet?
5 or 6.
5. Okay, so 5 feet, anything that's 5 feet, is because you're down at a level. What's down at 5 feet? How much oxygen is down there? Is there more or less
Less.
than up here?
I'm not sure.
What do you think?
I'm not sure which is heavier.
Okay,
But yes, I get it.
so the answer is that there's less oxygen down lower than there is up higher, right? Okay. So when you're down below, when you're working in a space where there's not as much oxygen, and there's also it's not a normal place that you would be in. You're only there when you're doing the work, and then it's covered back up and it's no longer there. So that can be considered a confined space. Also, especially if you're doing any kind of undermining at all, right? There's a chance of that the danger that it can fall on you. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So just knowing that what a confined space is, and although there's a danger in a confined space is obvious, the type of danger often is not. For example, a confined space with sufficient oxygen might become an oxygen deficient space once a worker begins welding or doing other tasks. So if you're down in let's say you're down soldering in a trench, we're burning oxygen, right? So hence already we're in a place we don't have as much oxygen. Same thing could be in where there's not a lot of airflow in an attic, or all kinds of different confined spaces that you can be in, right? You're already hot up there, now you got more heat, you're burning oxygen, there's not as much flow coming through. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So, so lack of adequate ventilation can cause the atmosphere to become life-threatening because of harmful gases. The oxygen content of the air can drop below the level required for human life. Sometimes a confined space is deliberately filled with nitrogen as a fire prevention technique. Nitrogen cannot sustain human life, so you must use respiratory protection. Many gases are explosive, can be set off by a spark. Even dust is an explosion hazard in a confined space. How much dust is in an attic? Finely ground materials such as grains, fibers, plastics can explode upon ignition. Confined spaces often have physical hazards such as moving equipment and machinery. Tanks and other enclosed confined spaces can be filled with materials unless the flow process for filling it is controlled. We don't obviously work in tanks, but before entering any confined space, you must test the atmosphere to determine if harmful gases are present. There also must be radio contact with an attendant outside the confined space and a rescue team at the ready in case of emergency. So some of this is from OSHA. It's OSHA's one of OSHA's topics, but the bottom line is you should always have the buddy program when you're near a confined space. Okay, you don't always have to have a walkie-talkie, but you need to have somebody else that you can communicate, someone who knows where you're at, right? And you know, so give me a couple of examples. So let's say that I'm in a, we talked about it a couple weeks ago about being in the trench, all right, which is something I'm trying to figure out through our employers research if they have the certification training for a competent person. So everyone knows a competent person is someone who knows all of the things to do to make sure that, you know, we don't, that when we do a trench, we basically do all the right things and we don't leave someone there to get hurt, right? So, but anytime you're in a confined space, you need to have the buddy system to make sure that, number one, someone knows where you're at, you keep in contact. Nowadays, you don't have to have walkie-talkies all the time, but even having a cell phone, being able to yell to somebody, hey, I need this, and also just take into consideration, knowing I'm in an area that's confined, have one way in, one way out, make sure I have a good, clear path to get back out, right? I've seen guys that have done this in the past, and I've heard something about someone who was under a house, and they were doing cast iron work, taking cast iron from underneath the building, right? Well, what happened was that the guys, as they're taking the cast iron pipe down, the old cast iron, they're cutting it and then they're just basically throwing it behind them. Well, they basically blocked themselves in to a point, right? And then you got these big pieces of cast iron. Guys got really, really hot and just, you know, was really dehydrated and stayed in there a long time. Confined space, not a lot of air, a lot of dust and stuff, you know, hacking and coughing and everything else. Had a hard time getting out because he had all this stuff like a dummy, just kind of throwing it behind him. And no one knew he was in there for a long time. And finally someone came in and they asked if he was in there. The guy was almost passed out, could barely even talk. You know, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that can happen. So it's knowing that you have someone in there is important. You know, playing the team part and making sure you have a good path in and out always, right? Make sure you, and there are tools that they have in certain confined spaces to be able to give you air and take out the gases. Are you guys familiar with that? Have you guys ever gone down, Kevin, in manholes, had to go down in manholes?
Never.
Okay.
I haven't in front of me.
So in some confined spaces, for an example, when you put up plastic and you're basically doing demo, right? And you got everything closed off, where's all your air going to come from, right? That's a confined space. You usually have a zipper to come out and go in, that's it, right? Well, you can bring air in and bring air out. There's fans for that do exactly that. Suck the dirt out, give you fresh air. So if you ever get in a situation, those are the kind of things you want to think about. How am I going to be able to breathe? How am I going to get in and get out? Make sure everything is, you know, in your mind. Planning is the most important part of being around or in a confined space. But always have someone know where you're at all times so that if something does happen, at least we know where you're at. Okay? So I just wanted to kind of throw that out for our meeting today. Anybody have any questions, any comments, any concerns? All right, so starting today, like I said, everyone who's here, I'm going to put your name in the hat. And we're going to have a training tomorrow, Tuesday, that Kevin's going to put on. Some kind of technical training. And then our next meeting is Wednesday. Okay? If something comes up and we don't have, you know, we're so busy we have something coming up, I'll let everybody know. I'll text you, hey, there's no meeting today. We may not have them every day during the summer when it gets real busy if we have that much work. But when we do have them, we'd like you guys to be here and be part of the team and, you know, contribute to the meetings. So please try to contribute and, you know, if you have something that comes up that affects the team in any way, let us know. All right? All right. Thanks, guys.